So today I'm going to show you how I make marshmallow fondant. So you can buy fondant pre-made, but what I have found is A, it doesn't taste that great, and B, it's quite expensive. So when I make cakes, I like to homemade my fondant. So what you will need is some powdered sugar and some marshmallows, the mini marshmallows, not the big ones, just because they're easier to melt when they're smaller. Some water, some vegetable shortening, and a microwavable container. I like to use my Pyrex measuring cup, but any microwavable container will do. And food coloring of your choice if you want to color it, and of course your cake to put the fondant on. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is coat the inside of my Pyrex dish with some Crisco, because the marshmallows are very sticky and I don't want them to stick any more than needful, so it makes cleanup a lot easier. So I just take some onto my fingers like that, and I'm going to coat the inside of my Pyrex dish, like so. Okay, then I'm going to put my marshmallows in my Pyrex dish. So I'm just going to open up my bag and pour them in. And I don't want them packed in there too tightly, because when I put it in the microwave and start to cook them, they expand. And so if I pack it in too tightly, it can spill over onto the microwave and make a huge mess, which is what we don't want. So I'm going to fill it, I'm going to add a bag. And this is a, let's see, this is a 1 pound bag of marshmallows. And for every 1 pound bag of marshmallows, I add 1 tablespoon of water. And now I'm going to microwave it, and I'm going to microwave it in increments of 30 seconds. And at the end of each 30 seconds, I'm going to give it a stir so that all the marshmallows melt evenly and so that it doesn't spill over and create a mess in my microwave. Okay, so it's been 30 seconds. I've taken it out, and now I'm just going to give it a little stir, and it's beginning to melt there on the bottom. It's getting a little sticky and sticking to my spoon. And then I'm going to put it back in for another 30 seconds and continue the process until my marshmallows are completely melted, because we don't want any lumps in our fondant. Okay, so now my marshmallows are completely melted, and I've stirred it around and made sure there's no lumps. You can see it's very sticky and stringy, and that's the way it should look. At this point, I like to add my coloring, whatever color I'm going to use if I'm going to. And today I think I'm going to use pink. This is Wilton's Rose Pink. And the way I like to do it is I just kind of like to take a knife and dip it in there and pull some out and just give it a good swirl in my marshmallows. And I don't really need to make sure that it's all mixed in and looking pretty, because we still have to add our powdered sugar, and it will get very well mixed when we do that. Okay, so at this point I like to use a mixer. You don't have to use a mixer if you don't have one. You can certainly knead it by hand, but it makes life a lot easier to use a mixer. So I'm just going to use my KitchenAid. So I'm going to use my dough hook attachment, because we don't want it to mix. That just makes a big stringy mess. What we want is for it to knead. So I'm going to start off by adding some powdered sugar into my bowl. And I like to put the powdered sugar in first, because it helps the marshmallows to keep from sticking at the bottom of the bowl if there's some powder in there first. So I'm going to add about half a bag, and this is just a regular 2-pound bag of powdered sugar. And then I'm going to add my marshmallows. Okay, so I've added my marshmallows. Now I'm going to turn my mixer on. I want to start off on the lowest speed because I don't want powdered sugar to go flying into the air when I turn it on. And you can see that even on the lowest speed, powdered sugar still is flying into the air, so definitely start at your lowest speed. If it's looking a little dry, you can add a tablespoon or so of water. And if it's looking too sticky or too wet, you can add a little bit more powdered sugar. I know people always want exact measurements, and I just don't use them with fondant. I just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so I'm going to want to spread out some powdered sugar onto my surface that I'm going to work on because I don't want my fondant to stick. So here's my powdered sugar, and I like to just kind of crush the lumps a little bit. I really don't sift it, I just kind of crush out the bigger lumps. So I've got my powdered sugar laid out. Now I'm going to grab my fondant out of my mixer. Okay, so I have my fondant here poured out. And so now I'm just going to knead it. And I want it to be like a Play-Doh consistency, sticking to my fingers there. So I just want to add this powdered sugar, kind of incorporate some of it into there, into my fondant. And there it is. My fondant is now ready to be put on my cake. You can just work in that powdered sugar so you can't see it anymore. And if I'm going to store it, I'm going to want to coat it in some Crisco or some vegetable oil and then wrap it in saran wrap and then put it in an airtight container. And it'll last for quite a while that way until I'm ready to put it on my cake. So thank you for watching, and in my next video I will show you how I put fondant on a round cake. Thanks for watching. Bye.